You cannot climb the ladder of success dressed in a costume of failure. And that's also considered dressing like a clown. You cannot climb the ladder of success dressed in the costume of failure when you're dressing like a clown. Anna, anybody would like to touch on that? Thank you. That's deep.
It's there.
Yeah. I had to grab that one to make you think.
Can you repeat that for me?
I can repeat it.
Because I'm seeing it in a spiritual sense. I'm seeing it both. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
You cannot climb the ladder of success dressed in the costume of failure.
What's the second part? You said something else?
Dressing like a clown.
Dressing like a clown.
You want to touch on that?
Jesus.
I mean,
I'm right back.
Can you give me an example of what you're saying?
No.
'Cause I'm not.
You need an example? Okay, so when I read it, and as it was trying to come to me, you cannot climb the ladder of success dressed in a costume of failure, which is also dressing like a clown. What I was getting from this is that, you know, there's ladders that we climb and we have to get to the top. You can't get to the top when you got a costume on dressing like a clown. I have a friend that trying to get into a job as me. And, you know, working in a hospital, there's a lot of big people in there. You got to be successful or got to know what you're doing. And in this particular situation, what she was currently doing was promoting herself as not that successful person. And you can't rise to the top when you're currently being more like, I want to say, goofball, clown. You labeling yourself as someone. It's like your resume is not what your resume is. So if you got all this on your resume, but you coming in something totally different, you coming to me like a clown. You're not being successful. How you want to step that ladder when you're promoting yourself as someone else that you're not? Right.
like even tying it back into what some of you all were saying earlier in regards to like not going through the process, not being patient, not waiting, you know, and so you'll never get the success you want if you're not patient enough, if you're arrogant enough, if you're dressing for success. Is something that is taught to us or is it's like you're dressing for success. But if you think that, you know, for example, the jeans, although these are cute, you know, I can't go into an interview with these. You know, they give me a little confident boost, but that's not the purpose. So sometimes when you're trying to become successful, the way that you're dressing is not going to align you to that, because you didn't take the time to look at your success. You didn't take the time to see what pieces you need. If you need a tie today, but you don't have on that tie, you know, that can make every bit of a difference in regards to it. And if you're overlooking it because you're being too big-headed or you're being too flashy, you know, not being humble, I think I'm trying to align that. I think that's what it is.
Thank you very much. I like that. Beautiful. I want to apply that. You know, I always try to use personal illustrations. For the majority of my time in incarceration, God blessed me with the ability to provide for myself. You know, in in prison, there are certain things you just don't get. You know, most of us know that.
Yeah.
The state would only provide you with soap,
That's it.
no deodorant, no shampoo. They give you a piece of toothpaste and stuff. So, you know, there was a period of time there, I didn't have anything. My mother couldn't supply those needs, and I remember, you know, being taught, you know, being discipled by some good men of God, told me, dress for where you want to go.
That's right.
He said,
That's
act like the person you feel you're destined to be. So I began to put on the mind of Christ. I began to clothe myself with the principles, the values, the morals of the Word of God.
That's right.
And so when I would present myself to the classification officer and ask for that canteen job, one of our like only 5 paying jobs at the institution,
Yeah.
I came as a man of integrity, principle, honor, and character. My walk and my lifestyle in the compound preceded me before I got to the
Okay,
classification
come on now.
department. And
That's
they
right.
knew me before I got there.
Right.
I was dressed for success.
Success.
When I got in
That's
this
right.
seminary, we know who you are. We heard about you preaching and everything.
Come on in.
Come on, you got the
Come
job.
on. That's right.
And I tell you, I got transferred 3 different times to 3 different institutions before I ended up going home. Every institution I got, this moment I got right in the canteen.
Favor.
I left prison with over $16,000 cash. Bought my car, bought everything. I didn't have to ask the government for that dime. Asked nobody
on
for
now.
a loan. Made my own investments. Helped my mother buy her second home from in prison with stocks and stocks and currency trading. So what I'm saying to you is how you prepare yourself, right? I really believe this concept. Your thoughts precede your emotions, and your emotions precede your behavior. You
That's
act the way you feel, and you feel the way you think. For as a man thinketh in his heart. So what? So see, if you believe you are somebody, if you believe you're successful, if you believe you're a king, then act and walk like be a man. Man up, put your big boy pants on, and handle your business, and quit making excuses. That's what's up.
I was just saying it to Apostle before we even had this question brought about. A lot of people try to be other people, and it makes you look clownish. It doesn't make you look authentic. So if you reach down in your authentic you, your God-given gifts that He gives us gifts without repentance. And we push those. You can climb, you can be successful, but I can't see something she's doing, oh wow, that's so good, and I'm gonna just try to do what she do. She's graced for that. My grace for what I'm graced in may be something different, you know, and you have to study in it, like he said, you have to you have to be knowledgeable of where you're going, because then you don't want to be a fool. If you want to write a book, you want to make sure, like if you want to write a biblical book and you want your book to reach T.D. Jakes or something, you got to study, you got to make sure everything lines up, so whatever that we want to do in life, we got to put effort, and we have to be good stewards over what God is giving you, the knowledge, the wisdom, the everything. And we won't be looking foolish. Some of us, we just really just be looking foolish,
Like
and
a
then
clown.
and it's on your resume. You can't take it off. It is done. But also you can change, because you can testify and help somebody else. But you, like, again, when you have this dogmatism mindset, no one can tell you nothing. Your resume follows you. I be like, what's on your resume? Like, what's going on? And it's important because it hinders your success. You're supposed to be so far along, and you're blinded, and that's nothing but the enemy.
In my walk with Jesus, it became evident that our success is defined differently as believers, which I think this is what many of the things are being said, is that we are measured first by the content of our character, by who we are, but then on top of that, in light of that, what we oftentimes learn in the process is that we are not promoted based off of our ability alone. We're promoted by God based off of availability and integrity, right? Character. So you think about costume. Another thing I was thinking about when in terms of costume is that or a costume of failure. What I consider a costume of failure as a believer is conforming to the world. like when we conform to the world, we have put on a costume of failure, right? And so I look at this in my career. It's been a difficult career because I've had to develop on the go skills. I've had to learn everything that I have now. And in that process, I was tempted to maneuver or navigate, right, the ladder of success the way the world does. Yeah. It's very tempting. And especially so in corporate America, there are a lot of things done that are unethical, right? And you are tempted, right, to mirror that sometimes because there's pressure. Results need to be had. Things need to be accomplished. So you like there's a certain amount of pressure for you to do this, right? And so many times I was tempted in that, and then one day in my process, God led me to Matthews 5-8, and it was astonishing to me when you see there's a multitude surrounding Jesus. Jesus begins to teach. He goes to Mount Sinai. He begins to teach. The Beatitudes happens, and then he literally introduces a counterculture, something that is counter to their culture. He introduces a teaching and things that he cover is about forgiveness. If you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven, right? Things about humility. Don't pray don't pray in front of people so you can be seen. Go to your closet, your secret closet. And what your Father sees you do in private, he'll reward you in public. Same thing with fasting. Or he says, pray for those who despitefully use you. Bless your enemies, right? He goes from he talks about that. He classifies murder now. He says murder, I tell you, what you heard before was if you kill somebody, you murder. But I tell you, if you hate your brother, right, you are a murderer. Or if you look upon a woman lustfully, you have committed adultery, right? So completely introduce something. And then at the end, he goes on and he talks about the wise and foolish builder. And he says, he gives the analogy of a foolish builder who built his house on the sand. And there was a storm, and it had a great crash. Right, and then he talks about the wise builder who built his house on a rock, and it stood the test of the storm. And afterwards, when you conclude, what I realized was that whatever costume you wear, whatever you identify as, because a costume is the purpose of a costume is for you to identify as something. Whatever you wear will determine how you end. Right, so you will build based off of the costume you wear. And that will determine whether or not your house stands. And unfortunately, if you build wrongly, at the end of your life, everything will crash. It won't matter. You will be judged off of how you built your life. And how you build will determine how you spend the next life, your eternity. And so I decided I was going to be a wise builder. I wasn't going to build like a lot of the people I saw around me. I was going to do some different things. Thank you.
Gone to work with people that has been through the system, my son, you know what I'm saying? And I came to the realization, first of all, ethics cannot be taught, they're instilled. And even though we're adults, you see, some of us didn't get that. We don't know anything about morals and values and standards. And so I began to see that and connecting with other people and things. Take my son, for instance. I was a paralegal with people that was on death row before I got my degrees. But when my son got in trouble in Texas, I couldn't get there. You see what I'm saying? Finances won't allow you to get there. So I kept calling his attorney because my son has told me what happened. Now I'm a research. I'm going to find some case law. I'm going to do stare decisions. I'm going to get it together because that's my son. And I don't have the money to get him an attorney. So I called his attorney. I asked him what was his issues, what was his mitigating facts, what he was going to do. He couldn't tell me anything. I said, well, I'm wasting my time talking to you. I need to talk to the prosecutor. So they told me I couldn't talk to the prosecutor. I said, he's human, right? They said, yes. I said, well, I need to talk to the prosecutor. So the prosecutor and I, God blessed me with favor. And the prosecutor saw favor in me, and he began to call me back. I was saying, da-da-da-da-da, case out, da-da-da-da-da. I was telling him, when that case was over and I wasn't there, the prosecuting attorney told my son, tell your mother, thank you. So, but I say this to say my son went through all that, but he came out, and today he has his trucking company. It's called By Grace Transportation, and he owns his own 18-wheeler, and it was by the grace of God because he was out there like that. And then I see these other guys coming in. I know they want to turn. One guy came to me, he said, he was down 27 years. He said, Miss Gail, I can't find a job. I said, the devil is a liar.
Amen.
I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. So, needless to say, he got the job. I went out to one of the sites because I wanted to talk to the people about hiring some other people for me. And so, let me back it back a little bit, because he came to my office maybe 3 months later or something, and he says, I tell him, I said, "Now, if I help you get a job, you better come back to me and ask me to show you how to do a letter of resignation. Don't walk off a job, because the name of our nonprofit is Another Chance. So you're not going to come in. We don't run a revolving door." And so with that being said, he came back 3 months later, and I looked up at him. I said, "How can I help you?" He said, "Miss Gail, you don't remember me?" I said, "Am I supposed to?" And so he said that, he said he just came to tell me thank you. And this man has been down 27 years and tears running down his eyes. So then months later, I go back to the job, because now I want to check on everybody and things like that. Next thing I find out, he's making $19 an hour. You're a supervisor. I say, "Do I have to really remember your name?" He talking about, "Yes, because I'll never forget you. But I'm telling you this, we got to be vigilant, and we got to be mindful of the people that we run across that has been through the system and may come acting like they're a clown. They're acting like a clown because they really don't know. But when you go to them and you let them know, look, I'm down with you, but don't flip the script, and don't come in here acting like this and that, because I'm going to let you know you're not that, but we're with you, and we'll start from the ground up. So I ask you to keep Another Chance in your prayers and in your minds. You can even give us money, we'll take it. But again, let's be vigilant and mindful of the people that is coming after you, because they don't know, so we're going to show them.
I thank God for you. I did 10 years and 4 months. I acted just like a clown at one time. But I found out when you see somebody better, makes you want to be better. Y'all missed that.
We called it.
Repeat it again.
When you see somebody better, makes you want to be better. Because sometimes we as a people, that's what we always see. So we feel that that's the correct way to be.
Yes.
You know, you ever been in class, you got the class clown.
Yeah, that's me.
But then you run into somebody that's serious. So you become serious. And I thank God for, I want to get to know Another Chance. Doc has mentioned Another Chance to me. And I go back to some of the same places that I did time in. A lot of those brothers are still doing time. I did 10 years and 4 months, and they're going on maybe 30 or 40.
Jesus.
And they encourage me because they still giving God the praise.
Amen.
Because they learn to wait. So let's not give up on the clowns.
That's right. That's right.
See, I'm a word man, and I'm an illustration preacher, and I seen where he say, Satan has desired to sift you as wheat, but I pray that your faith fail you not. Then he lets him know, he say, when thou art converted, strengthen thy brother. So God called us from being clowns. So now let's go strengthen the clowns that God transformed them like he did you.